there were moments when I felt I just was surrounded by the words. They're hovering over the page, and I just would catch them and put them in my pen, and then they would come out.
My name's Luke Neima. I'm the online editor of Granta magazine, and I'm here today with novelist Paul Auster. And we're going to discuss his latest book, 4321. Now, Paul, do you want to summarize just a little bit what the book's about?
It's a story of a person. We follow him from birth to early adulthood. The unusual thing about the book is that there's not just one version of his life, but four. Mm-hmm. And they play out in sort of parallel stories in cycles.
That's an interesting thing that the book does. I mean, just thinking about, you have the assassination of JFK, and for one Ferguson, this is kind of like a life-changing moment. JFK is his hero, he worships him, and it shatters him. But then for another Archie, who's a bit more cynical, he could care less.
See, he's the boy whose father dies when the boy's only 7. He's a much rougher time of it, and so every premature death that he hears about somehow makes him relive his own experience with his father's premature death. So there's a kind of double ache for him. Mm-hmm. But it's a different feeling from Ferguson 1, who's experiencing it as a vast historical moment in the American story.
There is a sense here where the kind of political events, which stay true for all the characters, the way that people experience them and see them is defined to some extent by the circumstances in their life, the kind of arbitrary, the chance things that happen to them.
Well, the 4 boys, you see, they're all born in the same hospital. I mean, it's one person. It's the same biological, genetic being, born in Newark in 1947. But then the parents leave Newark and they move to suburban towns, 4 different towns. Mm-hmm. So the different Archies are growing up at different places. Therefore, they have different friends, different teachers. And then the fortunes of the father as a businessman, he owns an appliance/furniture store, vary from cycle to cycle.
There's a careful balancing of, I think, nature and nurture here.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a sense we have the same Archie. He has certain interests across all the timelines. He loves sports. He's interested in music, but he has no ability to really play.
Exactly.
He doesn't have that.
Precisely right.
He's interested in writing to some extent, and yet
they all gravitate toward different kinds of writing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is that kind of existential doubt, that uncertainty about life? Is that something you're kind of trying to grapple with?
Doesn't everybody think about these things? I think we're all asking ourselves, what if?
Yeah.
And when we look back on what's happened to us, all the flukes that have made us who we are. I mean, nearly every human being on the planet is an accident of some sort. Because you're the product of 2 people who have copulated and produced you. And how those 2 people have met is often a very bizarre story.
I wanted to just touch on, this is by far the longest book you've ever written.
Yeah.
What was that process like, and what kind of drove you to?
Usually I mull things over for months, if not years, before I start writing. But this one seemed already to be in me. Once I came up with the structure, the book was there. And I wrote it in a kind of fever. I mean, 3 years, essentially, with those months of fiddling after, isn't very quick.
Especially for a book
of this length.
Scope, yeah.
I've spent 2 or 3 years writing books much shorter than this. But I was possessed. I worked every day. I didn't do anything else. It's a funny feeling of physicality, a sense of dancing, of improvising, of hearing the music of the book, these long sentences that roll on through this, which I hope create a certain kind of propulsion to push you through.
It does,
yeah.
It's a lovely experience to read it. Well, I think that's a great place to stop. So thank you, Paul, for talking to us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great.
Thanks.